I love that for us. We're
All
growing as
right.
people. Are
We
we
are
live?
live, yes.
Yay! It has been far too long since we attempted to do this live thing. And I feel like every time we finally make it happen, it's like we have 3 weeks worth of stories to potentially catch up on. Or we could
That's
just
true.
pretend the last 3 weeks haven't happened. So,
That's true. I mean, 3 weeks ago, the most newsworthy Trump news has been trumped like two or three times already.
yeah.
So,
Well,
but
yeah, we're already on our fourth indictment.
yeah, he said he needed just one more indictment to clinch victory in 2024. So, you got it. You got it, Trump. Four indictments deep.
Right. Well, and I mean, they're probably not going to stop there. I'm sure if conspiracies are your basis for charges, the sky is the limit. There are no limits to that.
Yeah.
So who knows how many we're going to see coming down the pipeline, but is
Not
anybody surprised?
not the crime conspiracy, like conspiring to commit murder, conspiring to defraud company X, Y, or Z,
Right.
but just conspiracy. I don't. I know it's on the show planner, and I'm not a lawyer, but I know a decent amount about the law. And doing this as a RICO investigation, the way that they're trying to do it is just absolutely absurd. Yeah,
Yeah.
tons of lawyers are saying that. Everyone forgets that Ben Shapiro was a practicing lawyer. He's a very smart dude, but he was also a very talented lawyer, and he looked at it for like 5 seconds, was like, no, this this is Banana Republic stuff, which we will talk about here in a little
Yes.
while.
We will get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about the GOP debate because it was amusing to say the least. And then we know that Trump and Tucker had an interesting conversation. So we've got to talk about all of that, of course. We can get into a little bit of the Trump indictment. And then, of course, we always have to touch on just how far society keeps falling because every time we think that people can't get more insane, they manage to outdo themselves. So we've got to talk about all that tonight. So we can dive into the GOP debate. If you actually, before we get into any of that, I just want to finally say I did go see The Sound of Freedom. Finally.
Oh, good.
Good. Have you seen it yet?
I still have not seen it, and my wife's kind of lost that fight so far. We might end up seeing it, but it initially came out. I said, I don't want to see it. She said we have to see
Yeah,
it, so we'll see.
yeah, yeah. No,
What did
it
you
was very
think?
good. It was very good. Um, it was what I was expecting in most ways, but not what I was expecting in some ways. I don't honestly, maybe I don't know what I was expecting because I've heard so much of what Tim Ballard has to say and what he's been through and all of his experiences. So I guess I wasn't
Hmm.
really sure how they were going to put this into a movie. I thought it was very well done. Anybody that's worried about going and seeing, anything that is truly traumatizing, they're not gratuitous about it. Um, there's no shock value. They're not trying to put things in there to draw you in out of morbid curiosity. They're not going to show what's actually happening to these kids. They don't take it too far because that's really not what it's about because we already know what happens to kids once they are in this situation, and there's plenty of information on that. What people need to be aware of is the fact that this is happening, that it's growing so quickly, that it's happening in every single backyard in the country, and that it's all of our job to be aware of it and to do something about it. So I think that was the goal of this movie, was to make people aware of it. um, I don't know if anybody else was shocked, but they didn't mention politics in there. They didn't happen to mention that this is a conservative issue. They didn't, they didn't say that this is, some kind of partisan attack against the left, that this is just pushing a narrative. There was none of that, shockingly. Um, So I think it's safe to conclude that the only reason to be against this movie is that it might expose something that you promote personally in your own belief system or perhaps in some of your own behaviors, is what I'm going to say about that. So it is a very good movie. And I went to see it with my husband, who didn't know as much about Tim Ballard, so I wasn't sure how he was going to react to it. And I think if he can come away with that positive message of we need to do something about this versus just feeling overwhelmed and traumatized by it, I think that pretty much anybody can go see it and come away with that. So that's my take on the movie. I'm very glad that I did go to see it.
You know, what's funny is it not, the movie not having forward facing propaganda and just like the leftist talking points like climate bad, Hollywood elites good. That's just as much of an indicator to say like, oh hey, we're conservatives making a movie because we just do the stuff as the stuff, not the talking points. Because when you watch a normal Hollywood movie, or which is the same as a leftist movie, it's just talking point after talking point in your face. It's like the LGBT community has it so hard. Love is love. The sun monster.
Yeah.
You know, cops are bad. Black people are victims. It's like, cool it. Just have a plot. I want to see the movie.
Yeah. Well, and it's almost like that makes me think that it's like they create these movies because in real life there isn't enough supply for the things that they're demanding.
Oh, for
So,
sure.
yeah, they create these movies to create a narrative and to fuel the things that they want to be true that aren't. And they know that movies and culture and bringing in Hollywood especially is a particularly effective way to get people to think certain things. So they're like, okay, well, there's not enough racism in the world, so we need to create a movie portraying that there's far more racism in America than there really is. Or, the LGBTQ people, we have to create a movie or a narrative about them being oppressed or include messaging in some way because there's not enough actual oppression of the LGBTQ community in real life. Whereas when conservatives, and this isn't, Sound of Freedom isn't a conservative movie, but when we're trying to make a movie, it's like we're actually trying to bring awareness and get you to talk about something that's legitimate, that's real. And then those are the messages that they're like, nope, that's not real. Those guys are liars. And we're like, what? So it's very interesting how movies can be used in so many ways.
Yep.
Yeah, but it was good. So if you haven't seen it yet, I recommend it.
Good. I'm glad you saw it.
Yeah. And that was like 2 weeks ago, so I had to throw that in there because it's been a while.
Man, it really has. So, goodness gracious. Oh, we need to, we don't have like open music. I feel like we need to like do a little song and dance because there isn't the, what is that thing called? It's called something on YouTube. It's been so long. I don't even remember, like the intro thing. It's called,
I'm not sure.
I'm having a Joe Biden moment here. A bumper. We don't have a bumper. That's what it's called.
Yeah. Well, we didn't think we were going to be doing Outspoken Samantha for this long, so we've got to get the Joe show back up and running.
You could, well, two things. You could still do your show, and you could have like, theme music and stuff.
I should.
Then you could have like a walk-up song. Wait, did we say something about this? Russell says, hate to say it, but Trump won. Just thank the Trumpies that we have 4 more years. Now listen here, YouTube. I don't even know what this Trump won means. It's not calling out anything specific. Yeah, the Biden-Harris administration is terrifying. That's an interesting point. We didn't talk about this, but there are things that happen in our society from our government, from our institutions of power, from our peers, our contemporaries that truly terrify me. Like, oh man, did you send me the video, or was it in my guys group chat? It was like this kid being bullied, and like these kids made him like get on his knees and kiss their feet, and then they beat the crap out of him anyway.
I didn't send that to you, but I have seen it.
That's the fact that this can go on in a school, and you know everyone's out there with their bullying has always happened. There was bullying in my school. I thought it was abhorrent. I beat up a number of bullies in grade school. I was that kid. Like I can't sit here while you beat the crap out of some defenseless kid.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, truly terrifying. So there are things about the administration, about society that they're scary, and everyone's just kind of like do. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Absolutely. So I was just rereading through Russell's comments. I'd hate to say it, but Trump won. Just think the Trumpies that we will have 4 more years of Joe and Kamala. If they're not terrified by Harris, admin, they deserve to die. Okay. I'm not really sure. So is Russell, are you upset that people are... Here's my thing. I'm just going to back up a bit. I do feel like there's this group of Trump supporters that it's either Trump or they're not going to show up to the ballot. And that worries me.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I get it. Like, there's a lot to be worried about right now. There's a lot to be very concerned about. And what's happening to Trump right now is completely ridiculous. We know it's completely politically motivated. But we've also got to think about the bigger picture. And we'll go over the debate clips here, and we'll go over the conversation between Trump and Tucker. But we've also got to face the reality of what's happening. And I don't know about you, but I'm personally very worried that Trump is not going to be on the ballot, regardless of what I think it's going to have something to do with these indictments. I don't know if he is going to end up in jail. I don't know. But people need to be prepared for that possibility. And I mean, I hope it does not happen. It's terrifying that could be a possibility.
Thinking about that, I really wonder what would happen if 70, 80, 90 million people wrote in Donald Trump. Like, what would happen?
That's true. But you've got to get everybody on board to do it. And will people do it? I mean, ultimately, I want to get... Because clearly the next person in line is going to be Ron DeSantis. And I know he's not everybody's favorite person. But we've got to get somebody in there that isn't Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And that is going to pardon Trump, do what he can, and get the justice system turned around. So, and everything else. So I don't know.
Here's my concern with what you just said. And we're diving into the deep end here, but the debate takes second banana. I agree. There are so many voters who are like, if Donald Trump's not on the ballot, then I'm not voting. That's a weird conditional formatting kind of statement, because what is all the other stuff that comes after that reasoning and really that type of event? So for me, I'm not this way. This is a hypothetical here. I'm making a statement by myself, is not speaking on behalf of Outspoken Samantha YouTube channel for the YouTube overlords out there. But it can't be, I'm going to take my ball and go home. If you're the type of person who says, if they throw Trump in jail, take him off the ballot, and just restrict our ability to duly elect a citizen as president, you can't just turn around and say, so I go home and abstain from the voting process. You would have to do something about it. I'm not saying this is what should happen, but George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, all those dudes, well, probably not Jefferson and Franklin because they dodged the war like a bunch of, but like Hamilton, Washington, who else fought? Who's Madison? Those guys would be like, okay, well then war. Then we have civil war. That's what happens, because you can't just say we dislike your choice so bad that we're going to outlaw it. That,
Yeah,
like what
yeah,
happens? What happens on the other side of, like, you can't vote for your number one guy because we charge them with crimes against coloring books or something and throw them in prison.
that'll be on the next indictment. Um, I don't know, and I think because I agree with you, because that would have been the response from all of the people that you just mentioned. And I know that's the mindset of a lot of people right now. I worry that there isn't going to be enough unity in whatever the next step is, whatever the decided action should be, whether it be the W word, YouTube gods, or
I don't
something else.
I don't think that's a statistically relevant fact, because such a small percentage of a country is even involved in something like a real insurrection. There were
Mhm.
probably more people involved in January 6th than would be involved in a true revolution at the beginning.
Yeah,
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 they're very small movements, but they're not insignificant. The American Revolution was that way, and all of the many French revolutions were that way. Um, I don't know. It's
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. It's terrifying for sure. But let's get into some of the GOP debates, and then we will get back around to Trump, and then we'll be able to tie it all up in a nice little bow. So you've got some of these clips it was an interesting debate. Now we all know that Trump, based on the poll numbers, based on popularity, based on just being Trump, he's he's got the nomination, at least at this point. So the debate at this point was, it seemed, for show. I mean, we do need to know what our other options are because of how things are going right now. We've got to know who else we could put on the ballot. Um, I thought there were definitely people that should not have been there. Um, it's always interesting to see all these people duking it out, and it's like, why are you even here? Why did you show up? Like, there's no point to this. But it was a very interesting conversation. So
I want to hear your answer to the two, what seem to be the two biggest questions that aren't even who won the debate. I feel like the biggest questions on the internet right now are, was it a mistake for Donald Trump not to go? And the other one is the GOP primarying really just about who's going to be on the bottom of the ticket?
mhm. uh, so the first question was about Trump. Do I think it was a mistake for him not to go?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it hurt him. I think with everything that's going on with his legal challenges, I think that it's probably a good idea that he was not there, so that they can't grab any more fuel for the fire, sound bites, or say anything that he shouldn't say, and whatever else. I do think that he's got a very unique situation where I understand that he was not there. Um, Also, I do understand the point that the field is so big right now with so many people on there. Like, there's no point for him to go on there and even pretend that 90% of the people on the stage are even a competition to him. So,
Yeah.
and also I think if Trump was there, it would have been all about Trump. That's all people would want to hear about. Um, and it would detract from us actually hearing from these other people. So there's a lot of reasons that it was a good thing he wasn't there. As far as the actual, like, respecting the process of how these things are supposed to go, I don't like it. I want all of the candidates to be there. I mean, even though he's 60 points ahead and there's really no chance for anybody else but him at this point, I still want to see that respect for the process. And I know a lot of people are making the argument, well, the Democrats don't respect the process. They've trashed the process. The process doesn't even exist for them. But to me, that's even more of a reason to still adhere to it as much as we possibly can, because now they've got fuel to say, well, Trump didn't show up to debate, Biden doesn't have to show up to debate. So we've given them a little bit of leeway. I mean, they would take it anyway, regardless of whether or not Trump shows up to debate. They're still going to say that for some reason they don't have to respect the process. It doesn't matter. But, you know, there is that aspect of it too. So, and I just would have liked to see him interact with everybody else because it would have just been a lot more interesting. But it didn't hurt him by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think it really impacted anybody. I don't think it did any favors for people or really took away from their campaigns. So, and then what was your second question?
Do you think that everyone's vying for the VP nomination? And who should be the VP nomination?
I do think that they are vying for it. I would, you know, I think everybody looks at people like Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy, and they're like, they would make great VPs, but neither one of them are really secondary characters in anything. Like they're both, to me, they're both leaders. So I don't think that having that big of personalities beside Trump would go very well. But then again, on the other hand, we saw somebody like Pence that we never heard from at all. And that didn't really work out well either because Pence is just a dirtbag. Like the guy is so slimy. I can't listen to him. Of everybody on that stage, if we were going to get lesser of a personality, I would say Tim Scott.
Ooh,
I would say,
yeah,
just kind of balancing Trump out, but somebody that we 100% know, at least at this point, that respects the process, respects the Constitution, and I think would be complimentary to him.
I like Tim Scott. He's not firebrand, but he's more exciting than Pence, and he's definitely conservative. It was interesting during the debate. I watched more of it than I wanted to because it was fairly entertaining, but they tried so hard to say conservative as much as possible. I don't think anyone said Republican. I don't think any of the candidates said Republican the whole time.
Right.
So that's interesting.
I'm not sure. I didn't notice, but yeah, I think he would be a good personality for him. I don't know. It's really hard to say, but
I agree completely with what you said about DeSantis and Ramaswamy. They're main characters for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to watch any of these, or have you had enough of the GOP debate?
I don't care. We have a bunch of these. I definitely don't want to do two Pences. So
okay. Which one did I send?
The Nikki Haley abortion one, which was redonkulous. That whole thing. You also sent Ramaswamy v. Pence. That was a pretty decent clip too. You know what? We can do all of them. I don't care.
Whatever you want. I'm fine with whatever. I was just kind of picking some highlights from it. Pence is a slime ball.
Nikki Haley is what's the word? Kind of irrelevant to me, so we'll watch this other one.
Okay, you got people totally on this stage that won't even talk about issues like Social Security and Medicare. I mean, Vivek, you recently said a president can't do everything. Well, I got news for you, Vivek. I've been in the hallway. I've been in the West Wing. A president of the United States has to confront every crisis facing America. I will put our nation back on the path to growth and prosperity and restore fiscal responsibility, just as I did in Congress and as governor,
Mr. Vice President,
and when I was vice president.
But
yeah, I mean,
hold on. You were named earlier. I'm going to give Vivek first.
We'll get to both of them. This isn't that complicated, guys. Unlock American energy. Drill, frack, burn coal, embrace nuclear. Put people back to work by no longer paying them more to stay at home. Reform the U.S. Fed, stabilize the U.S. dollar, and go to war. The only war that I will declare as U.S. president will be the war on the federal administrative state that is the source of those toxic regulations acting like a wet blanket on the economy. So I'm not sure exactly.
I just want to pause it here to point out that everyone wore the same outfit. They all wore their Donald Trump suits, which is like hilarious.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I didn't even notice. That is so funny.
They all wore the dark navy suit, white shirt, red tie. Some of them have patterns on the tie, but like a flat red, silky. I'm surprised Nikki Haley didn't do it. She's the only one.
I know. I know. She's got the powder blue.
It's so hilarious. Okay, that's all I wanted
understood
to say.
Mike Pence's comment, but I'll let you all parse that out. For me, it's pretty simple. That's something a U.S. president can do with focus, and I'll deliver on it.
Let me explain it to you.
I thought it was really interesting. I think that clip stood out to me because I don't like Mike Pence, and it's really funny, like, that he served beside President Trump for 4 years, and we just thought he was this great guy, and now listening to him talk, he just sounds like a used car salesman. He sounds so slimy. He's always delivering a speech. He's always trying to sell something. And then there's Vivek, and I like what Vivek says, and I think a lot of people do, which, that's why he's so appealing. He just says what most of us want to hear, and I don't mean that he's being insincere, but I think it's really easy to say all the things that you plan to do and just be as extreme and out there as possible without any consideration for the limitations that you might have. Donald Trump said he was going to throw Hillary Clinton in jail, and he never did. He said he was going to build this wall, and he built part of it, but there are things that just didn't happen. And I appreciate, as much as I don't like Mike Pence, coming in and saying, and kind of keeping him in check a little bit. And I think Vivek needs a little bit more of that. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but it feels very extreme. And it's like setting us all up for disappointment, if that makes sense.
I agree with a lot of it, but I disagree with one point of comparison where Vivek would actually do a better job, or potentially do a better job than Trump on this aspect. I was listening to Timcast, and Tim was saying that he hates this thing about Donald Trump. He says Donald Trump doesn't read. He's very smart, business savvy. He's got all the connections, blah, 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 blah. But he said the one thing that makes Trump an outlier for plutocrats is he doesn't read. He only watches. And he said because of that, you can see that he gets his opinion from these two podcasters, from this business, audiobook, and from Tucker Carlson. Because 2 days after Tucker says a thought, it becomes Donald Trump's thought. And what that caused to happen in the White House, and this is a bona fide fact, he made some campaign promises. He told his cabinet to execute these things. They came back to him and said, hey, we can't because it's illegal, unconstitutional, whatever. And he believed them, but they lied. They lied. They straight up lied. And Vivek has pointed that out, and he's actually read the Constitution. He's actually read a lot of the United States Code. And this is why Barack Obama was so good at screwing us over, because love him or hate him, the dum-dum was a constitutional scholar. He was a constitutional lawyer and constitutional law professor. So he knew the Constitution and the U.S. Code so well that he could form a crafty legal strategy and tell the cabinet to go execute it. And Donald Trump did not do that. He should have said, I don't give an F what you think. Figure out how to get it done. Figure out the legal argument to bring to Congress, to bring to the AG, to bring to whatever governing body, and make it happen anyway. But for a number of things, they just straight up lied to him. And it made me want to wring Donald Trump's neck, because if he had read these documents himself, he would have known that they were lying to him, and he would have been able to fire the right people. They said that you can't fire, common lie. This is a common lie, guys and gals, that you can't fire certain GS positions, certain members of government. That's not true at all. There's a really easy mechanism to get these people fired. If you wanted to get rid of the FBI, all you'd have to do, if you couldn't say the FBI is dissolved today, all you would have to do is reallocate all the funds and redistribute all of the people so that the FBI exists, but all of the staff of the FBI have been transferred to different offices to do different tasks. That's how the president can unilaterally overnight get rid of an agency. The president can create an agency by executive order, which is how we got all these stupid alphabet agencies, but they try and make it tricky on how to dissolve them. But they're administrative agencies. The president alone can dissolve these things. They just have to do it the right way. But his stupid cabinet told him, you can't. You can't fire a Fauci. You can't get rid of Chris Wray, who you just appointed. It's a 10-year appointment. No, you can. You absolutely can. Oh.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I do admit, I think Vivek definitely has that up on Donald Trump. So it's just, I just want him to be aware of what he's saying and whether or not he can and cannot do everything that he's promising us. Because right now he sounds like a political Santa Claus. He's like, I'm going to do everything and like spew out all of these gifts to everyone. And we're like, okay.
You're right. You've been here before. I mean, when he was saying the energy things, the last point, just like cherry on top, was like embrace nuclear. It's like, oh, that's kind of difficult. I'm a big nuclear guy myself, but that's not going to just happen like that.
Right, exactly. It's not like
political Santa Claus.
Not like where
you called them political Santa Claus.
That's what it sounds like to me. It's like, okay. But I mean, because it's not like when Biden got into office and he just signed all of these executive orders stopping everything. I mean, it's a lot easier to do that. Whereas, you know, Vivek and some of these other guys, they're talking about all the things they want to do, which is great. Embrace nuclear energy. But it's like, okay, we need a little bit more substance to that. And I'm not saying he can't do these things. It's just he's very just generous with all of the things that he wants to promise us. And sometimes I think he needs to kind of scale it back and make sure he's operating in reality.
Here, I'm just going to bring this over because, you know, they've all got their uniform on. But you know who else rocked that uniform? Jerry Falwell Sr.
Oh my goodness. It's like a dress code or something.
I feel like I'm obligated to do that as a Liberty grad. This is a big, all the business guys, all the law students would like wear this on the days that they had to dress up for class. Mm-hmm. You could even buy it like a faux version to wear to football games, or a bunch of us, we would wear white t-shirts and paint on a red tie. It's a whole like thing.
Yeah. Well, it looks nice. It's just, it looks a little weird when that's what everybody's wearing. I wonder if anybody just walked in and they're like, hey, nice tie.
Yeah.
So, all right. What's the next?
How do you think DeSantis performed?
I think I liked DeSantis, so I might be a little biased. Do I think he did amazing? No. I mean, I was thinking about this earlier today because a couple of years ago, you know, especially during COVID and everything that DeSantis was doing for Florida, and everybody kept saying that he was a lot like Trump and they had a lot of the same positions. And I think that that's still true. I think the Trump comparisons kind of went a little bit too far. And I think people sometimes expect him to have the same personality in a lot of ways, or the same appeal and the same humor. And he's not Trump. He's not that guy. So he doesn't have that presence, that camera presence, that personality presence that we're used to seeing. I think that he did well. I think that he I don't know. He didn't do amazing, but I appreciate him. I like DeSantis. I still think he's a solid candidate. I think he answered very clearly. I think he brought a lot more, you know, fire and passion to this particular discussion than he has in the past. He was a lot more forceful on things. He was the only one that I think talked about, you know, getting rid of things like CRT and gender ideology, which I'm sad that they didn't talk about that more. I think a lot of people are. I mean, he highlighted.
What do you
I think he
mean?
was very,
They had to
clear on
focus
what
on important things like UFOs because that's what's gonna
I know.
make our country better.
I don't think I included that clip, which I'm really sad about, but I can't believe they talked about UFOs. I'm like, really?
So stupid.
Do you think that that's what anybody is concerned about right now? So
That's gonna
I
help
think
the
he did well.
economy.
Yeah, I think he did well. I appreciated. He just seems very focused.
I still think, and I know there's been some shuffling with his staff, I still think that his media team is out to get him. I think his media team is crap right now. And for two reasons. One is he kind of pulled a Ben Carson this debate. He was very polite. He didn't interrupt ever. And that's not the name of the game of debate. That you need to get as much airtime as you can. You need to find a reason to insert yourself into other people's arguments, either just to tear them down, to steel man them, to concur, whatever. So there were definitely portions of the debate that he seemed like a spectator, not as bad as Asa or the other guy. I can't even remember his name.
The guy with the eyebrows.
Yeah. But campaigning is a contact sport. And that's something that Ben Carson didn't do well. What's his name? Oh gosh, what is his name? Not Hutchinson. Oh my gosh. The governor of Arkansas's dad.
Asa Hutchinson?
No. Huckabee, Mike Huckabee. Goodness gracious.
I was like, current? Okay, yes.
Yeah, no. I was thinking Sarah. That could be Sanders. Anyway, another thing that he didn't do, you got to interrupt, you got to be whatever, in it to win it. But the other thing that he's not done, and you talked about this just a second ago, is the things that brought national attention to him. He needs to do those things again. He needs to be talking about school choice, parents' rights, the transgender ideology, and women and girls' safety. He needs to be talking about some spicy, inflammatory things, and I know his media team is stay away from these hot-button issues. In Florida, He was like, you are always going to have the right to blow a home intruder away, but on the national stage, they're back away from those issues. That won't work because you have to dance with the girl who brought you. And the girl that brought him to the dance of national politics are those spicy issues. And he deals really well in that space. It's authentic. And he seems a little inauthentic when he's like, let's talk about tax code and foreign policy. That's not his bag. He needs to fire his media team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I don't know what's going on because he was out there for a long time and it seemed like we were constantly getting clips of, just zingers that Ron DeSantis threw out there and talking about Dr. Fauci and just talking about the different, the useless people that were taking things down in Florida and, he just seemed to be on fire for such a long time. Yep. And now I'm like, what is happening?
This is the crazy part. The crazy part is he is the strongest anti-tyranny warrior, even more than Donald Trump, but he's not talking about it. He's not talking about it at all. It drives me crazy. He kicks Trump's butt on limited government, on people's rights. He's the anti-tyranny. He could do some real damage to Trump. Because Trump's COVID handling and warp speed and all that other bull crap,
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, and I think DeSantis did have I don't know if I included it, but he did have a minute of talking about COVID, which I think was really strong for him because he has that record to go on. So, what's we can just pick a couple more. I think there was one of Chris Christie that I threw in there that I just thought was funny. I mean, Chris Christie was just there for entertainment purposes.
Oh, I think I missed. I think I missed Christie. Here, let's see.
Maybe I didn't put it in there. I thought I did, but
Christie had some moments near the open. I was like, what's happening? Why is he like, he was like going in at the beginning.
there was, I did. There's Christie versus Vivek, and then I did include the DeSantis on COVID. And then he also did on teaching the Constitution as well, but Christie versus Vivek.
People are dying of bad climate change policies than they are of actual climate change.
Governor Haley, are you bought and paid for?
Down by
Hold on.
in the last century.
Listen.
I've had enough. I've had enough already tonight of a guy who sounds like ChatGPT standing up here. And the last person in one of these debates, Brett, who stood in the middle of the stage and said, "What's a skinny guy with an odd last name doing up here?" was Barack Obama, and I'm afraid we're dealing with the same type of amateur standing on stage tonight.
Come over, give me a hug. Give me a hug just like you did to Obama.
The same type of amateur.
And you'll help elect me just like you did to Obama, too. Give me that
the same type of amateur.
Hold on.
People are dying of bad climate change.
I just thought that was very amusing, but I did see the side-by-side comparison of Vivek asking, what's a skinny kid like me doing up here on the stage, which was pretty much word for word what Obama said in a previous speech. I'm like, what are you doing? So
yeah, that's a bad move for his media team.
Yeah, exactly. Like, just make that work. I mean, I'm not saying that it's, it sinks him as a candidate, but it's a little bit questionable about who you're emulating. So,
well, the reason they do it, these political consultants, all they do is recycle stuff. Like, if it worked, it worked. Like, Make America Great Again. They recycled Ronald Reagan. They're like, hey, it worked for him, and he was a great president. Let's try it. Yeah. So they were like, hey, you have a weird last name and brown skin. Let's try this.
Yeah, exactly. But at least Trump was, copying Ronald Reagan, which was a good thing. Vivek copying Obama, not such a great look. So, yeah. But that just made me laugh. So, I mean, you can do any of the other clips if you want to, or we can talk about Trump and Tucker and their little. I didn't include a ton of stuff about them, but I thought it was an interesting conversation.
Yeah, we can jump over to that. I'm reading the comments. I have as much use. Let's see. Did you want to do both of these?
Sure. You know what? I'm not even sure what's in them. So
this one's funny.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain.
It's funny that everyone wore the Trump uniform except for Trump. He wore something different.
Right? I think it's the first time I've seen him in a blue tie.
Yeah.
He's like, dang. All right.
For certain reasons, the candidate, she has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
she seems pretty senile, too.
She speaks in rhyme. It's weird. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
in rhyme? What do you...
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here, and then the bus will go there, because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird. This is not a president of the United States future. And I think they probably have some kind of a primary, and other people will get involved.
Newsom, right? I
mean, could be. I mean, I always got along well with him, believe it or not. But could be him, could be somebody else. He's got a big load on his shoulders, because you look at California, what's happened. But I don't know if the American people really, the people that vote for him, I don't even know if they care. You look at so many of the things that are going on, and people don't seem to be. In the old days, if you had a bad record, it meant a lot. Today, if you have a bad record, it doesn't really mean anything. He looks good. He's a nice-looking guy, speaks well. But Biden, every time you watch him talking, it's like he's walking on eggs. You're waiting for him to collapse. And he almost always does.
It's so... Donald Trump is such a character.
I know. He's definitely one of a kind.
Yeah.
But I love that I love the zingers against Biden and Kamala Harris, because they're 100% true. But I thought it was interesting that he said, you can have the worst campaign in the world. You can have, essentially be the worst person, and people don't seem to care. It doesn't matter what you're doing anymore. You just kind of have to be a likable person. And I'm like, yeah, it's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because I think, did Gavin Newsom officially announce? I think he did.
Oh, I missed that.
I thought he did.
But yeah, he's a good-looking guy that can read a stupid teleprompter. So they're like, let him run the country. Hooray.
Yeah, he's qualified, right?
It's essentially a homecoming court in high school. It's like, oh, this is the homecoming king and queen.
Yep.
That's freaking
annoying. It's really unfortunate, because we're sitting here going, have you seen California? Have you seen what he's done to California, or what he hasn't done for California? And, a lot of us are still expecting people to care about those things. And a lot of times it just seems like right now people don't. And I don't understand why. But I think we're just caught up in more cultural and societal issues than we are with actual policy, which is weird.
The Twitter mugshots, the fake Trump mugshots, are hilarious, by the way.
I saw a couple of them before I jumped on. I know people are having a heyday with that.
Yeah, here's the real one. Jenna Ellis's Twitter is on fire the last 2 days. There it is, ladies and gentlemen.
I saw that one earlier. I thought it was fake. Is that the real one?
No, that one's real. That one is CNN approved. The latest Trump surrender. Yeah.
Yeah.
We can definitely see some fake ones. I just saw where did it go? What's her name? Oh, come on. I just saw Carrie Lake's.
What?
Carrie Lake's Trump mugshot. She said there are a lot of fake mugshots going around the internet. This one's real.
Yes, I love it.
Oh man. Oh.
That's awesome. I mean, it's not funny, but it kind of is.
Yeah, this freaking. So on the indictments, I just my poor wife, she probably felt like she got an earful last night, because I am reading the indictment and I'm like, am I crazy? Am I reading these terms wrong? Because I'm the kind, an honest person, and actually someone who's actually decently intelligent often thinks that there's error in their logic. Plato, Socrates, Aristotle, Jordan Peterson, whomever, they're all short. I don't really know much. I know some, but I don't know much. So I often think that my ideas are wrong. But I was like, man, this feels like super, before I knew Jenna Ellis was being charged, I was like, this feels super totalitarian and kind of illegal, because I was like, they're essentially saying so many of the Bill of Rights, speech and belief, thought, religion, so many of these things are illegal. We can charge you with conspiracy if you say that you disagree with us essentially. But then when they started charging the attorneys, so all of their names just popped out of my head. It used to be the governor of
Giuliani.
Rudy Giuliani. Thank you.
Yep.
And what's her face? I can't believe I'm forgetting these names. Jenna Ellis, Giuliani, the other woman. Oh my gosh, she was all anyway. This is insane. Think about this. If you charge an attorney with conspiring to commit or cover up their client's crime, then anyone who ever gets found guilty of anything, your attorney, your whole legal team, all of their clerks and all of their paralegals and the associates that work for them, they all should be indicted for conspiracy. Because, and I said to my wife, I said, babe, if you kill me and then you get an attorney and you tell the attorney I want to plead not guilty, and then the attorney stands before the court and says my client pleads not guilty, and then you are found guilty, then he's conspired to commit murder or conspired to cover up murder, defraud the court, something. That's a redonkulous legal standard. So anyone who doesn't plead guilty, if you're found guilty, you're done. Your whole legal team's done. That.
Yeah.
Am I crazy?
Well, no. So my understanding is this in Georgia is based on, is it called the RICO Act? The racketeering?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a huge umbrella catch-all conspiracy type thing that opens the door to all kinds of. It's something that law enforcement uses as like a mini Patriot Act, because you can get all kinds of warrant activities when you open a RICO investigation. The feds get bonuses when they pursue RICO charges, because you get all these wiretaps, you get sneak and peek warrants, you get, depending on the nature of the crime, you could get satellite resources and all kinds of bull crap. If you get caught up in a RICO investigation, all of your rights are gone. It's like two notches underneath terrorism.
Oh, great. So my understanding is that this was something that was created a really long time ago. And it had something to do with mob activity in trying to prosecute. Yeah. And essentially they were trying to get the little guy to rat out the big guy by intimidating them with essentially the same charges that they were going to put on the big guy. Kind of like this group charge. And I mean, I'm simplifying it so that it makes sense in my brain. You know, I have to say it like I've gotten 5 booster shots. So I just
wow, which are totally safe and effective. I wish I could get 5 more.
Why stop there? So to me, this is kind of the reverse, where it's the mob that are carrying out the charges. And I mean, that would just kind of how it made sense in my brain. But also, like, where is the limit on this? Because if they can say, you know, you denied the election, or you, offered information from your area in some way, like, can they extend those charges to pretty much anybody that they see as involved in this conspiracy? Does that make sense? Like,
yeah,
does it just stop at the, I mean, to me, it's the fact, what's happening with Trump is just it's just scratching the surface. It's the fact that everything, like you just said, everything that they put in this can be extended so far reaching if this is the precedence for arresting people, for criminalizing people. And they could essentially just include anybody that has ever said anything bad about an election, or denied an election, or questioned an election.
The feds can go into Twitter and run the information of anyone who tweeted #StopTheSteal, and you're guilty. Did you tweet this?
Exactly.
That's knowingly. They'll hold it up in court and they'll say such and such knowingly tried to overthrow the United States in the election and blah 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 blah. Not Hillary Clinton, not Al Gore, not freaking Dum Abrams. None of them. All of them are fine. She goes around calling herself the governor of Georgia.
Yeah, still. Oh my gosh. Yeah, exactly. So that's the terrifying part at this point. I mean, yes, what's happening to Trump is scary, but the basis that they are using for this case, this has no limits essentially. So,
but they're going to do it just like they're doing these ridiculous court cases in California and New York City. In New York City, someone could break into your house, put you on your knees, and hold a gun to your head, and if somehow you overpower them and defend yourself, you will go to prison.
Yep. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, it's terrifying stuff. And it's just like with all of the January 6th people. How many people did they arrest just for being on the premises? That they didn't do anything.
Did you hear about the old lady that they convicted? She showed up to the Capitol like hours after the, quote, insurrection. Yep. Do you remember when we were kids, like you could walk in government buildings, like you didn't need an appointment, you could just walk in. There was no, stormtrooper there like, what's your business? Like, what do you mean, what's my business? I'm a citizen. I want to walk around in the Capitol. That used to be how it was. And a little bit before we were born, you could, the White House didn't have the gates and all that stuff too, which I get it, but that's a sign. That's a sign of a crumbling society when there starts to become this separation between the government and the governed, and it's us and them, and there starts to be this real big separation, and the government is secure, like they're seen as valuable, and they have gates and guards and bulletproof glass and all this stuff, and the governed are seen as expendable, where you could just throw them in prison and charge them for anything. That's just a red flag. Do with it what you will, folks. It's just not good.
A little bit, yeah. I don't think there are any coincidences anymore. So what is this about Jenna Ellis's mugshot here? She looks pretty happy.
She does. She's like beaming. I guess you have to hit play. Oh, that stupid thing. There it is. Yeah, did you read her tweets from...
No, I haven't read them yet.
She just like posted all these Bible verses. Oh, like, here we go. But I send to you, love your enemies, bless them that curse you, do not do good to them that hate you, and pray for them that despitefully is such an interesting word, despitefully use you and persecute you. ... But no, she tweeted like a bunch of these tweets. And she made this her profile picture. It's definitely a classy mugshot, because they put these jail cameras like in the ceiling. So now everyone has these weird like angles. And all the time when I was taking people's mugshots, they all look confused because they're like, where? Like they camouflage the camera. So people are like, where is it? And then it's like, and you got people like turned sideways. Drunk people it's really difficult to get them into that, because looking up like that's hard when you're drunk. Anyway, good for you, Jenna Ellis. She has some kind of legal defense fundraising thing going on. If you got some extra pennies in your coffers, jump on there. And because Kamala Harris and I can't think of names to save my life tonight. What's that black singer dude's name? He's like, he sings all the like sultry R&B songs. John Legend. There we go. John Legend and Kamala Harris aren't going to bail these attorneys who are going to jail because they freaking represented their client's interest. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, absolutely. They're arresting attorneys, a whole group of attorneys.
How can you do this? Like, it just blows my mind. It blows my mind.
I know how you can do it. What I don't get is how you cannot see it for what it is and not be worried about the day that this ends up on your own front door. So, because that's where this is headed.
The people don't care until it happens to them.
I know. And even then. Yeah.
Well,
we can get.
Go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, do you want to touch on that last story?
Yeah, which one?
Whichever one. They're both equally as insane.
Yeah, I didn't read this, but
yeah.
So
this is so we thought it was bad enough when we have high school boys that are like, hey, if I call myself a girl, I can get into this locker room that I would have otherwise been kicked out of. Like, in a sane world, I would not have been allowed. I just have to call myself a girl and I get access. It's like every high school boy's dream. And then, we've got all the crazy people in society that want to go use public restrooms, and these men that want to get into prison cells with women and all these things. And it's just like, can this get any worse? Well, yes, it can. We've got a transgender coach out of Pennsylvania who decided that they can go into the girls' locker room because they're transgender, because they've decided that they are a woman. It says that this transgender coach changes in a locker room which shocked Pennsylvania high school girls, or students, but girls. The incidents involving a transgender part-time high school tennis coach in Pennsylvania have made some students and parents uncomfortable. That should say all students and all parents. And now the school board is divided on whether to renew the coach's contract. Why is this even a question? Can someone answer why they would not fire this person on the spot? And now they're like weighing. I mean, that in and of itself says how bad things have gotten. It's like, we really need to sit and think about whether or not we should bring this person back. Like, are there pros and cons? Because to me, there's not. There's only cons. This person belongs in prison, and our school board is literally thinking that they have to have a conversation about it. Employed at Gettysburg Area School District, the coach was hired as David Yates. Mr. Yates now goes by the name Sasha Yates and publicly identifies as a transgender woman. According to Gettysburg Time, Mr. Yates has been a seasonal boys and girls tennis coach since 2018. Sports news coverage of the Gettysburg tennis team used the name David Yates in 2021-2022. The coach has been called, but since 2022, he's been called Sasha. The school district's website lists an email using that name. It says, after incidents involving students, one in the fall of 2022 and another in the spring of 2023, the school board has decided not to rehire Mr. Yates for another season. Well, that's great, guys. But yeah, this person, David, decided that this adult sports coach, decided to be a woman. And now we've crossed this line where are these high school girls allowed to say anything? Are they finally allowed to speak up? Is this the line? Because it doesn't seem like there is one. I have questions.
So, my dude, Mr. Yates, multiple times in the locker room, while the actual girls were changing, he stripped down to his bra and panties, which is super creepy. But I think this is the creepiest part, like midway down. During an April 12th softball game at a Gettysburg area high school, Steve Carbaugh's 16-year-old daughter went to use the girls' bathroom, and Mr. Yates soon followed. the student found herself alone in the bathroom with the tennis coach who tried to strike up a conversation with her. Like, dude, no. You were born a man. You know that you don't have conversations in the bathroom. Now, women, I don't know what you all do in the bathroom. You do tend to go in groups, whatever. But a teacher, a coach, just in any capacity, doesn't go and kick it with the students alone in the office, alone in the classroom, alone in the bathroom for sure. Or go. I played multiple sports.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, but I don't think our coaches ever changed with us, ever. Like, not Little League, not high school, not soccer, baseball, football. Yeah, super weird.
Even if it's just like your male coach with the male athletes, that's still breaking a boundary. But now, I mean, yeah, I can't even begin to tell you what would happen if that was my husband and our daughter came out and said, so, craziest thing just happened. I guarantee that male coach would receive the free gender reassignment surgery on the spot.
That's pretty good. This is something that they're doing to try and make us feel like we're crazy. If a normal, I don't want to say normal, if a heterosexual adult, married or single, engaged in the same activities, for all of humankind, we've known that that's weird. That's a red flag. But if they're a member of the community, you can't chastise them at all because it's hatred pointed at the community, not the action that this particular person is doing. And that's the slippery slope that we need to get off and straighten out.
Yeah.
My second grade teacher was gay. He was a totally normal dude. He found me. I got stabbed in the chest with a pencil when I was in second grade. And he found me, picked me up, took me to the pencil was sticking out of my chest. Not creepy, totally normal. But nowadays, you knew adults weren't supposed to be alone with students. Faculty and students had separate facilities, separate restrooms, separate dining rooms, all that kind of stuff. And everyone knew that it was good and right and appropriate. But now it's like, because I feel like if you or I did this, if we worked in a school because we're straight, if we tried to engage with a student like this, we would get some kind of harassment, claim. And rightfully so. But if we were members of the community, no harassment.
Exactly. Well, and that's why they are bringing in the sickest and most deranged people, because it's essentially a free pass for them. They're like, if I, as a grown man, tried to walk into a girl's bathroom and strike up a conversation with a teenage girl, I would get arrested. But if I change my name and I say that I'm a woman, I'm a transgender woman, nobody can say anything, not even that 16-year-old girl, because that's discrimination. That's, attacking me. That's targeting me. It's astonishing. It's absolutely astonishing. And but apparently this is normal and this is fine.
Here's what I want to know right now. I would say waive your right to a trial and just be found innocent or guilty based on this one test. If I could get him to agree to this, he would be going to prison. He was a coach as a man. Now he's a coach as a trans, whatever. The one question trial is, did you change in the male's dressing room, locker room, whatever, when you were a guy and your athletes were men? The answer is no, guaranteed. But as soon as you switch to the other side, now all of a sudden you have this big interest in being undressed with the teens.
Yep.
No, dude. No.
Yeah.
He had no interest. He had no interest in going into the young men's locker room, but he's very interested in going into the women's locker room. He's just a creep.
Yeah, that's disgusting. This is where we're at, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I mean, just briefly, I don't know if you saw that story that Libs of TikTok exposed about the teacher that was hired in an elementary school, and they had posted all of these things on social media about how they have episodes of psychosis and like manic episodes that lead to violence and harm. And he had like pictures that had like satanic symbols and all this stuff. And they're like, but I still love me. And it was just like, and then they're like, I am not my disease. I am still me. And, you know, this person was hired as an elementary school. I don't know if it was a librarian or a teacher. Thankfully, because Libs of TikTok said, hey, this is a little bit concerning. You know, we've got this person that says that they have violent, manic, psychotic episodes. You know, they held a vote and this person was fired. But it's like, who's letting these people into this? Who's vetting teachers?
No, they have all of the it's like paraphernalia. They have all of the symbolism. They've got the flags, they've got the crazy haircuts and the crazy colors. This might sound pejorative, but they basically, you can see them a mile away because they've turned themselves into freak shows. Like when freak shows were a thing, you know, pre-circus, pre-colonial America, whatever. When freak shows were a thing, it was like a spectacle, and you had to seek it out to see that stuff. The bearded woman and like the giant and all that, the contortionists, whatever. But now they're like trying to make freak show stuff, like that picture of that girl, and you know, she seemed like a beautiful young girl as a high school senior. She goes away to college for 1 year and her head shaved and she's got like leopard spots and piercings and she looked like a freaking crazy person. But they recognize each other. You walk into a Starbucks and look at the staff and it's like, oh, you guys are members of, you know, team left. Like I can see it immediately.
Yep, you can see them from a mile away. Well, and just a little cherry on top here. So this art museum in, I believe this is in Minnesota. Oh my gosh, why is this happening? Decided to hold family-friendly demon summoning.
Always family friendly.
Period.
I mean, just look at the, like, they've got like this little black kid. Like, look at, you could be cool like this little black kid. Hail Satan. Like, what?
Yeah. Why?
Not creepy at all, guys. Totally normal.
Why is it that? Why Satan? I mean, of all of the figures that you could create a little club around, why Satan? Why is there this sudden push, like, for literally the devil? Because I mean, I just did a video last week about all of the after school Satan clubs that are happening, that are becoming more popular. There's all of this satanic symbolism, all of this like open Satan worship that people are proud of. And now they're actually summoning demons. Like,
in the advertisement, it said demons have had a bad reputation, but maybe they're just not very good at getting to know them. Give me a break.
Demons are now the most marginalized community, apparently.
Maybe we've been overthinking demons.
We cannot discriminate. I don't know. I don't even have words for this. It says a Minnesota Art Center invited parents and children to a free and reportedly kid-friendly, playful demon summoning session. He says an advertising before the event said that demons have a bad reputation, but maybe we're just not very good at getting to know them. Okay.
Can we stop putting family friendly in front of stuff that's abhorrent? Like family friendly Slaughterfest. Family friendly. Like I'm waiting for the the adult entertainment venue that'll be like family friendly, you can come and watch live and we'll make these crazy videos. You can't just put family friendly in front of something and that means, carte blanche to do whatever you want.
Well, and I mean, there's a lot to it. There's a reason they use the word family. I mean, if you guys, I highly recommend listening to James Lindsay when it comes to all of this stuff. But when they say family, they don't mean the traditional family, like your home family. They literally want to create everything as, the community family. They mean like the bigger family, the people that live in your neighborhood, or at least believe the same thing. So, within this belief system, it is very much a cult. So when you're in a cult, everybody in that group, in that organization, in that belief system is considered your family. There's really no separation of units. So when they say family friendly, they really have changed the meaning of it, not to get too deep into it, but they, there's a reason they use that word. And it's not because it's actually friendly for families in the way that we've seen Disney movies used to be. This is family friendly entertainment. This is a family friendly movie. That's not what they're talking about. But it's
I'm usually Bible thumping. I was reading in bed the other day, so my Bible's in my bedroom, and I thought I had a spare. I usually have an extra one floating around. Well, look, if you're gonna play around with the whole demon stuff, demons are real. You can learn about them in the Bible. Definitely not something to be screwing around with. But if that floats your boat, then play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
yeah.
But hey, while you're researching the family-friendly demons, do get to know them better. Read the Bible. You can Old Testament, New Testament. Lots of demon talk in there. Maybe you can get cast out into some pigs and run into the river and drown.
Yeah.
Not saying that's a good thing, but if you're demon possessed, it could be a good thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we have for you tonight, guys. Oh, go ahead. What?
I was gonna say, you don't disappoint when you're picking topics. You pick some humdingers. That's all I'll say.
Well, but I mean, I saw somebody else post it, or they were talking about it, and I was like, "Is that real?" So, unfortunately, every time you see something pop up and that shouldn't be real, and you really scratch your head, and you're like, "Is that actually happening?" There's a really good chance it's actually happening. That's the world we live in. So,
yep.
I thought I would just throw that in there.
Unbelievable. Oh, what happened? I lost my screen. Well, thanks for doing this. It's a lot of fun. I can't find the buttons on the screen. Is it this? No. Is it that? No.
Well, thanks for joining the conversation tonight, guys, as we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, as we sometimes do, as we usually do. But fun conversation. We started with the GOP candidates and ended on Satan.
No relation. Yeah.
Exactly. We decided to cover all ends of the spectrum. So, so we'll be here again, hopefully next Thursday night at 7:30, and we will be covering whatever disasters and catastrophes happen between now and then.
Oh boy, joy.
Yeah.
Well, thanks,
have
Samantha.
a good night, guys. Bye.